It is 2023. Happy January. I know that there's another video that I have posted before this already this year, but I think that I didn't think it was all flat lay, not a face, talking head sort of video. This is my post-crossing stats, and I'm combining December's post-crossing stats with the 2020 full year stats, and I want to talk about my goals for 2023 regarding post-crossing. So I'm not going to probably make it too long. I am not including statistics for my daughters anymore because they are so much more casual with it, maybe only sending 1 or 2 postcards a month. And it's just, if one of them receives a postcard, that's super cool. I will absolutely show you all. But that's that. I'm also going to talk a little bit about how the format of these monthly statistics videos might change throughout 2023. Yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to first talk about my December statistics really briefly, and I'm going to show you probably all or mostly all most of my received cards from December, because I received more than I have in past months. This was my biggest month to date, and I received some pretty cool cards and I want to show you all. And of course, as soon as I start recording, the jets decide to start flying around. So I'm going to regroup, grab these cards, sort them out, and let that plane finish flying over. Okay, so let me quickly talk the stats. So in December, I had 16 cards that I sent that were registered by their recipients. So 16, I think that might be the highest I have done yet. Currently, my post-crossing send limit is 9 at a time. That's as of the end of December. So 16 total in a single month is pretty good. I received 17 cards in all of December. And while I'm well aware that some people receive that many in like a week or two, I don't have a ton of post-crossing sent and received, and so I receive them and send them slower than some others, and that's okay. When you're just getting started out, you only can send 5 at a time, and so because they take a certain amount of time to reach their destinations, it's snail mail, it's slow, it's okay. Sent 16 that were registered and 17 received in the month. And at the very end of December, all of my traveling spots were also filled. So I pretty much don't go a single day letting there be like an empty non-traveling card. I send them out pretty much as often as they are registered. In December, I received 6 cards from the US. No, sorry. In December, I sent 6 cards to the US. I sent 2 to Germany and 1 each to Australia, Finland, Italy, Latvia, the Netherlands, Poland, Taiwan, and the UK. Just 1 each to all of those. And then in December, I received 7 from Germany, and I actually received them all within like a 3-day time period, all of those ones from Germany. And so I thought it was really funny that I guess Postcrossing decided to give my address to a lot of people in Germany probably around the same time. I received 4 cards from the US and 2 from Finland, and then 1 each from Canada, China, Poland, and Ukraine. I received now my longest traveling cards. The one from Ukraine traveled for 31 days, and that was the longest that I'd had one traveling. This in 2022. Years prior when I've done it, there was probably several that traveled longer than that. But for 2022, the card from Ukraine, traveled for 31 days, and that was the longest traveled. And then I received one from China that had been traveling for 71 days. And that tracks because the ones that we have sent to China always take so long and expire before they're ever received. And sometimes, like, they fully will expire. After a year, they get removed from the system. After 60 days, though, is when they expire and you get that traveling slot open again. Anyway, 71 days. So long. But I have it, and it has some lovely stamps on it, so I'm going to show you those as well. But yeah, so let me go ahead and quickly show you the cards that I received, and then we will talk about year overall stats and new year goals. Okay, so one of the ways that these video formats are changing for this year is I'm going to try showing you all the cards I received in any given time period. So basically, once I get a good stack, I'll make a video and show them all to you. Whereas this past year, I'd only been showing in my stats videos a couple of the cards received. I can't show all 17 to you now because that's not the point of this specific video. But I did pull out some of my favorites and the first and last of the month because I was doing that before and I find that to be fun. So the first one I received in December was from Germany. And it's this beautiful forest, and it has the official Postcrossing stamp on it. So that was the first one that I received in December. Another one of my favorite ones is the one from Ukraine. This card actually traveled for 31 days, and I think I might have cried reading it. It is so beautiful, and the writer talks about the challenges of living in Ukraine right now with the war going on, and they are just so strong, and they write about how they are like fighting emotionally and being like so strong and just living their day-to-day lives. And I was so moved by the writing on this card that I sent them a message on Postcrossing asking if they would be willing to provide their address so that I could send a return card, which is not something you have to do on Postcrossing. You receive and send randomly. But she was kind enough to give me her address so that I could send a thank you postcard to her because I was just so touched by what she had written. So that is probably one of my favorite cards. Another one that I had received that I thought was really cute was this reindeer. I did receive a couple of Christmas or winter holiday themed postcards, and that was quite joyful for me. I really loved the stamps on this one as well. I love seeing the like cartoony, interesting stamps from every country. They're so lovely. This one I received also from Germany, and it's this beautiful, let's see what it says. It's a river called the, nope, I'm not gonna try and say it. Inersti, I think is what it's called. But the thing I liked the most about this one was the stamps. We have the Charlie Brown series Snoopy's style stamps in the US right now. They might not still be available on the website, and they were issued, I think, 2022. Don't know if I have all of them still. I think I used my last Snoopy one, but I just thought it was really interesting because we have a similar issued stamp, and this German stamp kind of matches that, and so that's one of the reasons why this one was one of my favorite cards. But also, this is incredibly beautiful. Next is the one I received from China, which the card itself is quite interesting. This is a newer Postcrossing user, I found this was, I think that they had only sent a few cards, like 2 or 3, when I received this. And so it was quite a joy to be able to receive somebody's first cards. They're a college student, and it arrived in this plastic sleeve, but all of the postmarks and everything are beneath, under it. So they must have had it canceled and then put this on there, or I don't know if maybe the postal service there puts them in these sleeves. I'm not sure. But the stamps are all so beautiful. So I really liked that one a lot. This one, it's less exciting in terms of the image. I don't care too much about it. But it was fun to receive this one because one of my daughters also has received a card from the same user. And like hers, the image on mine seems very irrelevant to any of my interests. And so I think that this person just gets a lot of postcards printed that are not necessarily printed, but like they purchase a lot of postcards that they specifically like, and then they just send them at random, which is totally okay. You can send whatever you want on Postcrossing. The person's profile that tells you about their interests and the type of cards they would like to receive is just to give you an idea of something that you could send that they might like. You don't have to do that. But this card is from J Tills. I don't remember their username, but they are in Wisconsin, and they sent my daughter, my youngest daughter, she is 7. They sent her a card in November, I think, and it had like a vintage condom tin on it. And YouTube is probably going to flag me just for saying that word, but I thought it was funny because they sent that to a 7-year-old who, on her profile, it says this user is under 13 and account is monitored by a parent. So this person just, and also what is incredibly funny is the message on the back is identical. So this person does not put thought into the card they're sending or the message that they're writing. It's just the same. So that's, honestly, it's funny to me. I think that it's goes a little bit against the purpose of Postcrossing, which is to kind of spread, joy and human connection and things like that, and to be so copy paste with your, it's handwritten, but to be so copy paste with it, I think is a little bit not quite the point. However, that's okay. It doesn't offend me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. And I was quite tickled to receive a card from the same user as my daughter. I thought that was, and that's one of the reasons why that's actually one of my favorite cards, despite being so impersonal, is just because of that connection. This is somebody who has sent, I think, over 10,000 postcards on Postcrossing. So it's, at some point, you're going to run out of new types of addresses, and because my daughters have their own separate accounts, there's no reason for Postcrossing to not have us be paired up with the same one. And because this person has sent so many, statistically, they will probably send one to all of us at some point, depending on how active we are. And then the last, one more thing about that one is they did use quite a few vintage stamps. So that was fun. I liked that. And then the last one I received was this one from Germany? Yes. I'm looking at the stamp here. I think that's German. Where's the Postcrossing ID? Oh, goodness. It's right above my address. They used the little printout that you can get from Postcrossing that has the address and the ID. Yes, so this one's from Germany. And it's got this beautiful fountain at, I believe, I believe it's called Christet is the village name. And it's got these cute little lambs as the stamp. So, and finally, also not a post-crossing card, but one that I wanted to share, and I don't know how else to share it, so it's going to go in this video, so bear with me. I received this postcard from my letter carrier. I've put a piece of tape to cover my address because she wrote my address in the corner. There's no stamp on it because it's from my letter carrier. I left a packet of Christmas goodies in my my post box for her a couple days before Christmas, and like 3 weeks before that I asked what she would like, just to make sure that I could accommodate allergies. But these are cards specifically made and printed for letter carriers to be able to leave a nice note for their families that they're servicing. And so isn't this so cute? I love it so much. I will treasure this one forever. I'm a big fan of letters and postcards and mail, and this just made my heart so happy. I actually didn't receive this in December. I received it yesterday, but that's okay. I'm very excited about that. So that is the wrap up of December. And so now I want to kind of just wrap up the year. I started actively post-crossing again the first or early into the second week of October. I've been a member of Postcrossing for 10 years. I got my email at the 26th or something of December. I don't actually remember what day. Maybe it was the 19th. That said, hey, happy 10 years with Postcrossing, which I thought was incredibly funny because most of those 10 years I wasn't active. I sent like 5 or 6 cards my first year, registered the first ones I received, and just decided it wasn't something I wanted to keep up with. And then in 2020, like 8 years later, I did it a little bit again, early pandemic, and then again it was just, pandemic was difficult for me, especially that first year and a half. So, prior to 2022, I had only ever sent and received like 10 cards. And that's okay. So last year's stats only actually are Q4 because that's when I was active. So my total postcards sent in 2022 was 30 and received was 27, which brings my total ever postcards sent to 40 and received to 38. Not super impressive, but I really had a great time. So the excitement or the largeness of the numbers isn't important to me. I just like seeing the data regardless. And so that's fun for me. I love the little pie charts that they send in the emails. They all just make me so happy. I received cards from 10 different countries in 2022. The most cards received from a single country was Germany, with 9 total cards. And in second place was the US, with 7 total cards. And in third place was Finland with 4 total cards. That's exciting for me. Germany and the US, that makes a lot of sense. We, I think, have some of the most active users, the most users and most active. And then Finland does not have near the most users. I think they might even be less than the top 10. I'm not on that page of their website though, so don't quote me on that being accurate. But Finland has some of the most active users. Finnish people just like sending mail. And as a person who has strong Finnish heritage, I have no reason to argue with that being fact. It's probably quite true. But I received from 10 different countries, and I sent to 12 different countries. The majority of my cards went to the US, and then to Germany, and then tied for third place would be the Netherlands and the United Kingdom, with 2 cards to each of those. The longest travel time of cards sent from me was Taiwan and Finland. But those statistics don't include cards that have not been received and registered yet. And right now I have cards to Turkey that have been traveling for 28 and 32 days already. So those were sent in 2022. They just haven't been received yet. And those have been traveling for some of the longest time. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about my stats for my daughters, but both of my daughters have cards that have expired, so over 60 days traveling. One of them was to China. I don't remember which country the other one was to, maybe Lithuania, I think. But yeah, some cards take a long time. The shortest travel time in average was to the US, which over those 10 cards was an average of 8 days. Some of those cards were received after just a few days, and I think that there was one that took several weeks. But the second fastest average travel time was a tie between Italy and the Netherlands. All 3 cards that I sent to those 2 countries, they have an average of 9 days travel time. So that's pretty quick. I think that I've covered everything for 2022 so far, and if you have any thoughts or comments on any of the stats for 2022, I would love to hear them. Also, if you're in Postcrossing, I'd love to know your stats. I don't necessarily need to compare myself to you for any reason other than for the excitement of statistics. So if you're comfortable with sharing any kind of comparisons, like the countries that had the longest travel times, or the countries you sent to the most or least or received from, or how many countries. Like I said, I sent to 12 different countries and I received from 10 different countries. The settings that you put your profile on in Postcrossing can drastically impact this. If there is a selection that says I would prefer to send to the same countries at the same time, and for me, I have found that if I would like to send more cards to the US just for postage savings, or maybe speed of cards being received, or some other reason, I will make sure that I first have a card actively already traveling to the US, and then I will select that option that I would prefer to have cards traveling to the same place at the same time. And then I will wait till about mid-afternoon before I request an address, because that's when I find mid-afternoon my time. I find that there are a lot of US addresses in the pool for distribution. Probably because a lot of US addresses have registered cards that day. And so if I wait until the mid-afternoon, I'm very likely to get a US address. Now, if I unselect that, I am more likely to receive an address that is from a country that I do not already have something traveling to. It's not perfect. You can still get a country that you already have something traveling to with that deselected, especially for those countries that have more turnover, like Germany, the US, Finland, potentially others. But I have found that kind of little trick works for me pretty well. And so I don't do that often. I like to send to other countries, but for instance, over the course of December and the holiday season where mail is slower, and in my paranoid mind, maybe more likely to get lost, I set it and kind of worked that system a little bit that I just described so that I would get more US addresses so that I wouldn't have to worry about really long travel times over the holidays. But there's another thing I recently learned that impacts the sending and receiving of mail to China specifically. And several Postcrossing users on their profile have said that if you send the postcard with the Chinese characters on the address and not the US, not US, oh my gosh. Instead of the like the typical letters that we're used to in many other language alphabets, if you use the Chinese characters, they will get there faster because their mail is sorted more easily that way. It still will get there if you write it in the standard alphabet. What is the standard alphabet called? I don't know things. Anyways, so I have found that out. So a lot of times Postcrossing will provide two versions of the address, and I have taken to just printing out the version that has all the Chinese characters on it. And I printed on like a small address label sticker that is like this size. And I'm gonna see if that makes it faster. I haven't actually had one reach its destination yet since I've done that. But now that I know, I'm gonna try that. A few of the most recent card that I actually have to put in the mail today because I got it last night and wrote it last night. That one did not provide an address with Chinese characters. So I don't suspect it will reach its destination as quickly, but it's a good experiment. I'm excited to see how that goes. Oh gosh, okay, now 2023 goals. Starting the year, like I said, or ending last year, I have 40 sent, 38 received. My U.S. Postal Service informed delivery tells me that there are 2 postcards waiting for me at my post office. It actually said they were going to be delivered yesterday, but I went in the afternoon and checked, and then they weren't there. I think that they're just catching up from the holiday, and that is okay. But I'm excited to register those. A good thing for me to note is that I am currently on inactive mode in Postcrossing, which means I can send cards, but since the day that I set it as inactive, Postcrossing is not distributing my address to anyone. I set it up like this on purpose. I don't want to create a large imbalance between cards sent and cards received, but because of certain life goings on and projects that I have that I'm working on for the first couple weeks of January, I don't want to be receiving a lot of cards that I have to take the time to register, because I register every day that I receive a card. And I don't know for sure that I will have that kind of time or energy or just general emotional capacity for the first couple weeks of January. So about a week ago, I set it to inactive. I will turn it back on so that I can start receiving cards at the mid to end January. About a week before I hope to be able to start receiving them again. That being said, my current limit of sending cards is 9, and it will increase to 10 once I have 50 cards that have been sent and registered. Right now I have 41 sent because one got registered just the other yesterday. So right now I have 41 sent and I have 9 traveling. So once all of my currently traveling cards, or some of them plus more sent after, once 9 more have been received by their recipients, and I have 50 cards that are registered sent, I will be able to send 10 at a time. And that, now that I'm at that almost 50, once you have 50 sent cards, the number of traveling slots you have only increases every 50 cards, whereas prior to the 50 cards sent, it would increase every 10, and then I think there's a jump at 50, like there where it's 15 cards, but now it's every 50 cards sent, I get an extra traveling slot. Using the information from my statistics from 2022, I have determined that the average traveling day of the 30 cards I sent this past year was 13 days. That includes all countries, including the US, and it includes things like weekends, holidays, bad weather, me writing a card and then not actually putting it in a mailbox for 2 days, etc. 13 days is the average travel time for a card that I sent in 2022. Using that information, plus knowing the current limit and how that incrementally increases, I made an Excel spreadsheet that told me, and I use Excel spreadsheets for a lot of things. Oh, actually, I use Google spreadsheets, but it functions 99% the same. Using a spreadsheet, having my husband, who is a mathematician, former math teacher, math genius, Excel genius, having him look over my work, we've determined that it is possible, likely, and guaranteed. Now, this assumes that every card will always take 13 days, assuming the average stays the same and no other variables. We've determined that I could send 339 cards in 2023. That takes into account my current limit of 9, when that will increase. By the end of the year, if I sent exactly that number, my amount limit would be 15 at a time, I think it was. All that to say, I could send 339 cards this year. I did all of that, like Excel stuff and calculations, because I wanted to set myself a goal for this year that would be attainable, completely achievable. And while I like the idea of setting goals, this wasn't one that I could set without doing a little bit of math, honestly. And that's okay. I've decided that my goal for 2023 is to send 275 cards, which is not that maximum amount, but it is quite a large amount. I've made it less than that achievable amount by quite a bit, over 50 cards different. I've done that because I want to account for things like, what if I'm feeling really off for a week? What if I get incredibly sick? What if my family travels, and although I would absolutely use travel mode for postcrossing, it's possible that I might stop sending cards for a couple of weeks so that I can get more travel spots while I'm traveling. And then I wouldn't have that constant consecutive card traveling. And so that's a situation that I would want to account for. So I've made my goal very achievable, below that maximum calculated number. But I've set a second goal for postcrossing that is a little bit outside of my control, and I did this kind of for the fun of it. I really enjoyed seeing that I had sent to 12 countries and received from 10 countries, and there are hundreds of, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, I think there's more than a couple hundred different countries on Postcrossing. Now I feel like I have to look it up. I think that there's over 200 countries, but I don't know anything. So hang on one second. Oh, goodness. Okay, there are 248 countries. There we go. Of registered users on Postcrossing. And I just think that it would be so wonderful to expand the number of countries I'm sending to and receiving from. So because I am completely not in control of this, without maybe just, I think that I would receive and send from, well, I know that I would send to a greater number of different countries if I have that little checkbox on my profile unchecked that says, I would like to send to the same countries more cards to the same country at the same time. If I unchecked that, I would send to a greater variety of countries in general. So I've made that number 20 because I'm not in control of that number for the most part. That little box being checked isn't the end all be all of Postcrossing's system and how it distributes addresses. But I have no idea how many different countries I could potentially send to with 275 cards. That's not as easy to calculate. That's not as possible to get a really specific number at all. So 20 seems like kind of a large number, but I thought doubling the number from what I had sent and received this year, which was 10 received, 12 different countries sent to, I thought doubling that, given I have so much more time to achieve this number of countries sent to, because I intend to send throughout the whole year. I don't know. Is 20 a lot? If you've been postcrossing regularly for at least a year at a time, how many different countries do you send to in a single year? Every 270-ish postcards, how many different countries are there? If you have information like that, I'd love to know. If you tell me that you sent 300 cards last year and you sent them to like 40 or 50 different countries, I might bump up my goal. But if you told me that you sent 300 cards last year and it was to like 15 total countries and you didn't have that little box checked, then I might rethink my goal as well. But I think 20, for a number that I'm not in control of, and this is kind of a less important goal to me than the total number of cards I'm sending, I don't know, I just thought it would be funny to have another way of measuring the year. And I love receiving from so many different countries and sending to so many different countries. And so I'm very excited to see what this year holds. For me, I don't really worry too much about the postage cost because I really love stamps. I really love buying all of the different stamps that come out. And so if I don't send as many letters as I do postcards. And so I would be really stuck with so many forever stamps, like the full price postage for letters. I'd be stuck with so many of them, like overpricing my postcard sending if I was only sending to the US. But when I send to another country, let's see, do I have, I said I still have a card that I need to send out. When I send to other countries, I just put 2 forever stamps and an additional postage stamp, or an additional ounce stamp. And that's only slightly more postage than required for international travel. Right now, this rate is changing in maybe just a couple days. But right now, a forever stamp is 60 cents. An additional ounce is 24, which is a total of $1.44. And I believe right now the international rate is $1.40. So I like doing that because then I can use 3 stamps on every card. I can have so many different stamps to choose from to kind of decorate. I can make them themed to the front, or if a person lists a lot of interests on their profile, I can only choose 1 card to send. So if I'm between 2 cards and then I remember, oh, I have a stamp that matches that interest as well, I will either choose that same card so that the card and the stamp match, or I will choose the card for one interest and the stamp for the other interest that they have. And it's not always a perfect way of doing it, but I find that my goal is to make the piece of mail that I'm sending a very cheerful and bright part of somebody's day. So I really love sending based on their interests. I like to send what the user likes, and I like to put stamps on what the user likes, and I love, love, love using a variety of postage stamps because I love stamps. Speaking of that, I've pre-ordered all of the current January new issued stamps. So excited to receive them. Let me know if you'd like me to make a video when I receive, probably after I receive all of them. There's some being issued tomorrow, and then a couple days later, and some later in the month. So I'm not sure how I'll show those off. I might just show them off on Instagram. Yeah. That's the entirety of today's video. I think I covered everything, but it's really possible that I might have forgotten to say something, or there might be something you're wondering about my post-crossing stats that you want to know. So just let me know and I will respond in the comments. But I'm really excited to see what your goals are for 2023 regarding mail sending or post-crossing or anything like that. So please let me know. And I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.